What's up, everybody? Blake here, and this is Ramblin' Movie Takes coming at you with a movie review for a Captain America Brave New World. I said a Captain America. It's Captain America, a Brave New World. Alright, guys, well, I hope everybody's having a great day, great night, wherever you are in the world. Man, it has been a while since I have sat down to do a video for you guys, but here I am, and yeah, let's talk about this. So, Captain America, a Brave New World. My thoughts. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys right off the top. I like this movie, man. I had a pretty good time with it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's the greatest thing ever made. It's not the greatest Marvel movie. Definitely not the greatest. It's definitely more of a mid-level MCU movie. It's I don't understand the hatred that this movie's getting online. I've seen some people, really ranking it towards the bottom of the MCU, you know, you know what I mean. And I don't agree with it, man. Like I think it's somewhere in the middle. And I had a good time with it. I think Anthony Mackie does a fine job as Captain America. I liked him as Falcon in previous Marvel movies. I thought he did a good job, and I think he does a good job here. I do think it's weird that he doesn't take the super soldier serum. I think that's weird. I don't understand that, but you know, it is what it is. Like, why do you think you're too good for it, Sam? Steve did it. Really? Like, I don't understand it. But anyways, so but he does have a really cool suit that absorbs energy, and it can take a lot of damage. Apparently, it was built by Wakandans, and yeah, he feels like he needs that, but not the super soldier serum. Anyways, um, that's kind of weird to me, but it is what it is. But still, I thought he did a good job in this role. I think Harrison Ford was great as well. Harrison Ford, I mean, look, he's a legend. He's an icon in Hollywood. But in recent years, like he has definitely been phoning in performances. I mean, let's keep it 100. Like he's definitely been phoning some roles in. Uh, but not here. Here he does a really good job, and probably the best actor in this movie, which that shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, when he's on, he is on. But anyways, and there's a good supporting cast here too as well. I can't remember all of their names. I will say that Giancarlo Esposito, he was definitely wasted in this movie, for sure. Uh, Probably a casualty of all the reshoots that this movie went through. But he was fine. Don't get me wrong. Like, he was fine in the movie. There's some good performances here. Pretty much across the board. I don't think anyone was really bad, per se. So, before I get more into this, I want to say, look, I think people are being way too hard on this movie. Like, I'm not going to try to lecture anybody. Look, you feel how you feel. I respect everyone's opinions, all right? But I genuinely feel like people are being way too hard on this movie. And I think the reasons for that are mainly due to people not wanting Anthony Mackie or Sam Wilson rather to be Captain America. They want Steve Rogers, and I get that. But he does become Captain America in the comics, and you can say, well, those comics were meant to be woke or whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, whatever, man. It happened in the comics, and I will tell you right now, this movie didn't feel woke. Woke. It didn't feel woke. It it felt like they were just trying to make an entertaining movie. Now, I would venture to guess that maybe this movie was at one point, super woke, and they realized, when Bob Iger came back on board, they realized, oh shit, we need to, yeah, we need to correct this, or we're gonna get raked over the coils. So they reshot the movie like 4 times and went through some script rewrites. And look, that's never a good sign. But the fact that they came out in the end with a movie like this, with a movie of this quality, not saying it's of superb quality, but it's a good movie. It's a pretty good movie. The fact that they were able to release a watchable movie at the very least, considering everything, I think that's pretty impressive. To be honest with you. And I do think that after all of the reshoots, I think the movie that they basically came up with was essentially The Incredible Hulk 2. That's basically what this movie is. The Incredible Hulk from 2008, the redheaded stepchild of the MCU that people like to think doesn't exist, but it does exist. And I'm glad it exists because I'm one of the people that actually really likes that movie. I've always thought that The Incredible Hulk was a pretty solid movie that just doesn't get nearly enough respect for whatever reason. And it took, like, my math sucks, but about 20 years, for us to get a sequel to that movie. And the fact that it's a sequel that's wrapped up in a Captain America movie is kind of interesting, but it is what it is. It ties up some loose ends from The Incredible Hulk, for those of you that care. I'm somebody that cared. And maybe that's why I like this movie as much as I do. It's because I did like The Incredible Hulk. And I am happy to see some loose ends get tied up. So yeah. And going back to Harrison Ford, he plays Thaddeus Ross, Thunderbolt Ross in this movie. He takes over for William Hurt, who tragically passed away a while back, and I feel like he does a good job, replacing William Hurt in this role. And to be honest with you, I don't want to sound terrible saying this, but it might have been a recasting for the better. I don't want to sound terrible saying that because William Hurt was great. But seeing what they did with Harrison Ford and the whole Red Hulk thing, I'm not spoiling you, it's in the trailer. I can't imagine William Hurt as the Red Hulk. I can't picture that in my head. But anyways, and speaking of Red Hulk, you don't get a lot of Red Hulk in this movie. So for those of you that are, really looking forward to seeing Red Hulk in action, you're not going to get a whole lot. You're going to get less than 10 minutes of Red Hulk. And that's disappointing, especially considering, how front and center he was in the marketing. But, what we do get of Red Hulk in this movie is pretty damn cool. Like, I really dug it. And probably the best part of the movie, maybe, was the fight between Red Hulk and Captain America at the end. I just wish that it would have lasted longer, I guess, because it feels like they just said, all right, let's pit them against each other. Let's have some fighting, and then let's go ahead and end it. I don't know. Just kind of rushed it. So yeah. Red Hulk, all that stuff, while disappointing in that we didn't get much of it, it was all really cool. And I thought the CGI actually looked, pretty damn good on the Red Hulk. Yeah, there was like one or two, shots that were pretty bad, but, there was one shot where I was like, ooh, that looks rough. But I'm not always like a huge stickler for CGI. Like, yeah, I definitely appreciate some great CGI. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate great CGI. But if I feel like the movie itself is at least decent, then I can give a pass to to CGI not being the best in the world. A good example of that would be The Flash, which came out in 2023. You know, that movie has some terrible CGI in it. Some terrible, terrible CGI. But I thought the movie itself was pretty good. Anyways, so Captain America, A Brave New World. I've talked about the performances. I've talked about the Incredible Hulk. Essentially this movie being a sequel to the Incredible Hulk. I've talked about Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. I also want to talk about how this is more of a ground level MCU movie. It reminds me a lot of like a Phase 1, Phase 2 MCU movie. It definitely takes a lot of inspiration from Captain America, The Winter Soldier. It's actually the second movie to take direct inspiration or influence from Captain America, The Winter Soldier. The other one being Black Widow. And I'll say that I enjoyed this movie a little bit more than Black Widow. I actually enjoyed that one too. But I enjoyed this one a little bit more. And while, yes, it does take influence from the Winter Soldier, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, damn. It's definitely more B-rate by comparison. This is more of a watered down version of that story. With the spy, espionage, political thriller tropes. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that this is more of a ground level MCU movie. And, not so much, fantastical, going up into space, all this and that. It's very ground level and just a simple superhero movie. That's what this is. There's also some decent action here as well. Like, nothing that's necessarily mind-blowing, but still, there's some decent action here and, some fun action scenes. I do love I don't want to say I love, but I like the flight scenes in this movie. I thought they were pretty cool. I like the scene over what's that shit called? Celestial Island or something. I think that's what they call it, Celestial Island. Because they do finally reference the Eternals in this movie. So that's cool, I guess. Finally. They never explained how, this big celestial being coming up through the earth didn't cause, like, major issues for the planet. But, we're not going to get into that. I will say that some of the hand-to-hand combat scenes were definitely a bit underwhelming. Like, they actually released a clip on the internet before the movie came out where Captain America and somebody were fighting, and it looked terrible. And yeah, there's no getting around it. It looks bad. But, it is what it is. It didn't take me out of the movie, but I'm going to call it like I see it. It didn't look good. But I think the biggest problem with this movie, the biggest problem that I have, and I think probably the biggest problem that a lot of other people have, is that this movie does seem to suffer from a bit of an identity crisis. It doesn't know quite what it wants to be. Like on one hand, it's like it's a follow-up to the Disney Plus series Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I was not a big fan of. I thought it was okay, but definitely not something that I'll ever rewatch, I don't think. And then it's also, like I said, a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, a movie that's almost 20 years old, that a lot of Marvel fans did not really like. So I think, this movie kind of fails out of the gate with being a follow-up to those two to that movie and that series, because neither one is really held to a high regard, or held in a high regard amongst Marvel fans. So I think that's really what holds this movie back, is that it's just not super interesting from a plot standpoint. I guess for me it is. When it's focused on the Incredible Hulk stuff, like that's pretty cool to me. But when it's not focused on that, when it's not focused on tying up those loose ends, when we're not focused on Thunderbolt Ross or President Ross in this movie, I found myself kind of getting bored. So, from a plot standpoint, this movie is kind of a mixed bag for me, and it is kind of a thin plot. Like, it doesn't really have a whole lot going on. It's an easy movie to follow, but that's because, like I said, there's not a whole lot going on, and there is some rough editing here and there, and that's going to be par for the course. With a movie that was reshot like 4 times, went through multiple script rewrites. There's going to be some pacing issues here and there, and there's going to be some rough editing, and some scenes are going to feel out of place. That's just par for the course when a movie goes through all the bullshit that this movie went through. But anyways, all in all, I did enjoy this movie. I had a good time with it. It's definitely not the best Captain America movie. I would put it number 4. It's the worst Captain America movie, or the least good Captain America movie. I don't want to call it the worst, because I don't think this is a bad movie, guys. Like, I know a lot of people do think it is a bad movie, and look, I respect that. I respect your opinions. The only opinions that I don't really respect are the people who are clearly trolling. I saw where some people were saying that it's as bad as the Marvels, as bad as Quantumania. I can't go there, man. I can't go there. Like, this movie is nowhere near the level of those movies. It's just not. But with all of that being said, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with it. I hope you do too if you check it out. But yeah, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Check out some of my content that's on the channel, and keep a lookout for future content on the channel. If you would like to follow me on X, my X handle on there is Blake of Spades 11, all lowercase. And yeah, maybe I'll see you there. Maybe we can talk some nerd shit over there. Only if you want. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a good one.